All right, here we go. 4th down. Ball at the 19-yard line. Davenport leads 13-9. 5.3 seconds to go. Javarian Smith trying to pull out a miracle win for his team. Davenport trying to gain the victory. There's the snap in the pocket. He steps up. He throws it into the end zone. Tipped and incomplete.
Ooh.
Davenport wins it.
How about that?
Davenport wins it.
Incomplete.
Somebody got a hand on it. Boy, I saw an open receiver there for a second, Bill.
Exactly. A hand came in out of nowhere. I don't know who had the coverage. We don't have a replay of it, but
somebody just got a hand. And Davenport wins it 13-9 on the final play of the game. Oh, and we welcome you to the Davenport Football Coaches Show live from Uccello's in Caledonia. I'm Rick Berkey, the head coach. Sparky McEwen is here. And it was indeed Brandon Mangrum, right, who got that hand to deflect it away?
Yes, that was Bam.
It was Brandon who knocked it away, saved the day on the very last play of the game in the opening game at Lake Erie College, and the Panthers held on just by the skin of their teeth, though. A fingernail probably is all it took. If he clipped his fingernails, maybe he wouldn't have gotten that one.
Both those plays were, it was a bang-bang play for us, so
yeah,
wow.
And Davenport wins at 13-9. It was a long trip for you, and it was, you think about that one play difference, the ride home would have been a whole lot different for you, right?
We talked about that, Rick, and we said we very easily could have been on the other side of that thing, so we valued that win, and just like I stated after the game, a kill's a kill, a win's a win. You need them, you celebrate them, and then just move on.
Yeah, there's no such thing as an ugly win, especially on the road, right?
No, it's on the road. It's on the road, and to see our team fight through the adversity and step up this early in the year. The boys, they made the staff proud.
Yeah, and again, we are here at Uccello's of Caledonia. We're here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. for the half-hour broadcast here. You can come on out next Tuesday night. We'll be talking about the home opener, and Free Ticket Pete will have free home tickets to the opening game. So you want to get out here, and we'll be giving them out to people here at Uccello's and talk about that. Thanks to all the staff that does a great job here. The GM, Jeff Kellogg, and our waitress tonight, Sam's doing a great job taking care of us. Let's talk a little bit about a number of big plays. Even though there wasn't a lot of scoring, there was a whole lot of big plays. And nobody, I would think, at least from my observation, Spark, had a better day than your defensive back, Dion Powers, with 2 interceptions in the red zone and a very big blocked extra point attempt.
Well, I wouldn't say, that he had the only big day. The other guy that had a big day is sitting right over there eating on some pizza right now, our kicker. I
didn't say he was the biggest,
Yeah, he had a pretty significant day,
and he's going to join us in a little bit.
Yeah, but Dion, once again, you're talking about a guy that does things the right way, and I'm so proud of him. He came back from a tough injury a couple years ago, and he continues to be a leader, in our locker room, and he showed up big. He showed up big for us, and you need that out of your veteran players. You need your veteran players to show up big at a time when the team was struggling. We needed someone to step up, and he did just that.
Yeah, the 2 interceptions were big and obvious, but we were talking on the air in that last drive how as the game went on, especially in that final drive for Lake Erie, that blocked PAT was huge because that took away their option of trying to kick a field goal to get the game into overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, we talked so much. We talked about it at halftime, and just like the kick right before half, we tell our kids, special teams, we focus so hard on that on the offseason and the spring ball, and then obviously here early camp, being in and having that bye week. Rick, I can't tell you, we spent countless hours just working hard on special teams, and it showed up. We won the special teams battle, and ultimately it was a difference in the ball game because we had multiple turnovers, and typically when that happens, you lose. But we were able to pick it up in the special teams department, and that's why we're sitting here at 1-0.
Yeah, Dion, an honorable mention, Defensive Player of the Week in the GLIAC. Chris is the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week. We'll talk about him when he joins us. Nate Couturier, another nice game. 3 catches, including a 48-yarder just before the end of the half that set up that field goal that we'll hear about from Chris a little bit later on. And then Nate also had 2, one very good punt return and 1 spectacular one that were wiped out by penalties.
Well, I'm still looking for the call.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm still looking for the call. I've watched the film now 5 times, and I still can't find it. I'm looking for that call, and it's unfortunate because we worked so hard, to give Nate, enough space to take it to the house, and he did just that, and there was a penalty call, and it was so unfortunate, and they called it back because that could have opened the game up at that point in time. And in the game of football, you've been around it for years. It's a game of momentum, and that right there could have truly have taken us to a different level.
Yeah, that'll put you up 14, and again, you don't know that, but you got to think things would have played out a little differently down the stretch. All right, your quarterback DeAndre Ford coming back after sitting out most of last year with that injury. 14 of 27, 167 yards through the air, no interceptions. However, he did have problems hanging on to the football.
Man, they put some big shots on him. And he typically doesn't have issues with securing the football. But I've always told our defense, if you put a tough shot on somebody, especially when they don't expect it, you can get the ball out. Okay, so a lot of credit has to go to Lake Erie for protection breakdown on our side, but then all of a sudden you got a Lake Erie guy that comes free and puts a good shot on him and got that thing out of there.
We got a newcomer I want to mention a little bit. McEwen Johnson, a new wide receiver to your stable of receivers, had 3 catches on the day, but all 3 of those resulted in first downs. All big plays.
First downs, circus catches. He's a guy that we have big plans for this year, and it was good seeing him back. Okay, it was good seeing him back, getting his feet wet, and all 3 of his catches, like you said, they were big catches. So he didn't put up great numbers, but for us, when you pick up first downs and you move the sticks, that's huge.
It's interesting too that you didn't run the ball especially well until the last drive of the game you had, where you put it in the hands of your offensive line and your running backs, and you marched all the way down, eating up all but the last 90 seconds of regulation.
It was unfortunate that we couldn't finish it. We were really working our butts off to get that clock down, make those guys burn their timeouts, and we did. It worked out perfectly. And we had an opportunity to end the game, get a first down, take a knee, and to move on. Well, that's when we had the final fumble. And that was the worst thing that could have happened at that time. And it kind of takes the wind out of you. But our defense ended up, toughening up, and, give Lake Erie credit. They didn't quit. And I told you last week they wouldn't quit.
You're right. I think Coach Riley's going to do a fine job over there for a program that didn't win a single game and was just, smashed in almost every contest last year. And they were very competitive in their first opening loss.
Oh, yeah.
And they took you right down the last play Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 2 teams that played early this year was Ohio Dominican and Shepherd. Well, Shepherd ended up playing Mercyhurst and beat them by 3 points. Well, Mercyhurst is the team that Lake Erie lost to in week 1 by 4 points. So it kind of shows you the comparisons and teams that they've played, that we knew that this is going to be a tough ball club.
Well, in our final segment, we're going to talk about the opposition this week, because you stay on the road, head all the way up to the UP, Northern Michigan University in Marquette, and we will preview that game. But before we do that, we're going to have the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week, Chris Ahmed, come in. And before we get him, I want you to just tell us a little bit about him and what he's meant, because he's made a major contribution in just his over 1 year now of being a Panther.
This is the young man that there was an article on, back when he arrived here at DU. Here's a guy that's he made a 4-year commitment to the United States, being in the service, and then when he came back, he actually went over into Allendale, and he wanted to go and be a kicker there, but they had a number of kickers, and so he decided that was going to work out for him. So then he made a trip over to Davenport, and I put him through a workout, and the next thing you know, he wins the kicking job at our place, and I think he even won a kicker of the week last year as well. And so in his opening game, he had one flaw in that game. It was the opening kickoff. He kicked it out of bounds.
That's right.
And he and I had an exchange on his way off the field, and then he went on to continue to do a great job. Scored 7 points, and then obviously the big kick right before half. And that was our last score, and that was basically the game-winning kick.
All right, Spark, why don't you go enjoy some of that Uccello's pizza? We're going to have Chris Ahmed come in here and join us right now. And as we said, the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week for his performance. 2 big field goals, and none bigger than at the very end of the first half when Davenport was trying to decide, should we throw it into the end zone and see if we can get a last chance, kind of a Hail Mary kind of play, or should we try a long field goal and give our sophomore kicker a chance to do something special? Well, they chose the latter, and they were very glad they did. Yard attempt for Chris Ahmed out of the hold of Tirabashi. Snap's good, the hold's good, the good kick's on its way, it's long enough, and it's good!
Oh, yeah.
40-yard at the horn.
Field goal is good.
And the 40-yarder gives Davenport a 13-3 advantage going to the locker room and some real momentum.
A little bit of a cushion for us.
All right, and Chris Ahmed joins us right now, the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week. And Chris, you had to feel pretty good at it, especially after Sparky mentioned that the day didn't start out so well for you with that opening kickoff.
Oh, no, it did not. You're right.
All right, how do you get yourself, because kickers, can really be, when you're just kicking, all you got to do is think on the sideline, all you can do is really just think about the next kick. How do you leave that bad kick behind to start the game?
Every kick to me is brand new, so I go out there not thinking about the last kick, and I just think if Coach has me out here, he has the trust that I'm gonna get the job done, and so with me, I just go out there, try to be empty-minded for every single kick, and especially for field goals, I just rely on Gabe and Max to get the snap and hold, and I just kick it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the fans always see the kicker, whether he makes it or not. But the snap is every bit as important, and the hold is every bit as important as the kick itself.
Oh yeah, it's definitely important, and without them, they did a heck of a job this Saturday, and I had so much time for each of my kicks, and the holds were great, so all I had to do was kick it, and I did.
Your one at the horn there had plenty of distance. I mean, you went about 2/3 of the way up the upright. So what do you think comfortably, without wind or weather or condition, what is your range, do you think, or does that come by week?
Definitely, like you said, the wind has a factor. But without wind, without anything in the way, I feel comfortable around 55 yards. Anything past that, it's definitely a reach for me.
What is your longest one you've attempted at Davenport so far?
It was the 42 last year against Saginaw Valley, right before the half.
Yep, that was again that was your career best,
yes.
Right? Yep, that was great. All right. Coach mentioned your service, the time you put in the service. Tell us about that decision to do that, and then try college after that.
Well, out of nowhere, I decided I wanted to join the Navy. I went to high school. I was a big soccer player, a big football player. I did both, but just one day I walked into a recruiting office and decided this might be a new challenge, and I took it on, and it was a great choice. I do not regret it one bit. I had a great time.
Tell us where you were stationed and what some of your experiences were.
Well, what I did in the Navy, I was I was military police. They called that Master at Arms in the Navy, and where I went, I was around all of the United States a little bit. Most of my time, though, was spent in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and California for the last little bit.
How did it shape you as a person?
Well, it definitely brought on a lot of leadership, because I picked up rank pretty quickly throughout my service, and I was in charge of a good number of people, base to base and place to place that I went. So it definitely it brought on leadership. It brought on responsibility that I didn't have. Sports always brings that on, but sometimes you need that in your work life as well, and I definitely got that.
Chris, you're originally from Ionia, went to Ionia High School. Tell us about your high school days, and you mentioned you played soccer and football, and how did you compare the high school competition in football to maybe what other schools were playing in other parts of the state?
Well, like you said, I played soccer, and I was definitely more focused on soccer than anything else in high school.
Did you just kick on Friday nights?
Yeah, I would kick throughout the week once or twice, but I'd show up for practice for 30 minutes and then go to soccer practice. I was captain of the soccer team, so if I wasn't there...
So soccer was your primary and football was your secondary?
Yes, and then so my sophomore year of high school was the first time I ever touched a football.
Really?
And I went out there and gave it a try, did very well, and started
Even though
working.
It wasn't round.
Yeah, even though it wasn't round, and it took me a year or two to figure out it's a different type of kick, but I figured it out, and still I wasn't too sure I was going to play football anywhere, and so I wanted to go on and play soccer, but then I just decided to join the Navy instead.
All right, let's talk about coming out of the Navy. Now you're 4 years, right?
Yes.
So now you're 21, 22 coming out?
I was 23 coming out.
23?
24 now.
All right, so you're 23 coming out. Any hesitations about going back to school at that point? Because, I mean, I'm trying to think of myself when I'm at that age. I'm thinking, geez, I'm a lot older than the rest of these guys.
I definitely thought about age, but I also thought about my GI Bill. You know, I'm going to go in and be able to go to school debt-free, so I wanted to take that opportunity before I was too old, you know.
Now, can you tell this is the finance major? You're majoring in finance?
Yes, finance major.
What do you hope to do with that down the road?
I'm not too sure yet. I've actually started liking accounting as well, so I could go on both sides of the spectrum. My dad's into banking, so I might follow his footsteps, but we'll see where that goes. Right now, my focus is on good grades and football.
I don't know if you could hear us over on the other side of Uccello's here, but I was telling Sparky that one play at the end was a massive difference, not only in winning and losing the game, but in your guys' bus ride home. You think about, how different the mood would have been had Brandon not gotten that finger on the ball to just deflect it away at the last second.
Oh yeah, it would have been a totally different atmosphere, mainly because we know we should have won that game, and thankfully we did, and we would not be happy this week if we didn't.
Yeah, that was one of those games that would have kind of haunted you if you'd lost it, because you outplayed them for at least 3/4 of the game, I would say.
Exactly.
But that's the game of football. It's a 4-quarter game for a reason, right?
Exactly.
All right, tell us about tell the fans and general fans about what you do in practice. Sure, you kick the ball, but what kind of kicking drills do you do during the week?
Well, kicking drills, I try to start the week out heavy, do some kickoffs because those are the heaviest kicks, and I try to do field goals every single day, but I don't go past 40 yards if it's close to the game day or anything like that. I also punt here and there because obviously I'm a backup punter. I punted last year, but I'm not a natural punter, so offspring I definitely worked on it, but this year I'm not going to see too much of the field with punting, that's for sure. We have a good punter. Yeah,
he came in and did a really nice job on Saturday.
Oh yeah, he's exactly what we needed last year.
All right, so again, just a sophomore with your age and experience in the service, do you feel like a team leader, even though, like I said, just a sophomore in rank, but in life experience, you're way beyond a lot of the guys?
Yes, so I definitely, this year I was put into the leadership group within the team. I don't try to pull rank or anything like that yet. I know I'm a sophomore, and obviously I'm just a kicker, so sometimes that comes into play, but I'm hoping to, after this year, next year, maybe even my senior year, try to win over the team and be a leader on the team. But until then, I'm gonna play the role that I'm given.
All right. And finally, Chris, tell us about your family. Are they still back in Ionia, or
no? They wanted to leave Ionia just like I did. They actually live here in Caledonia, about 1 or 2 minutes away from Uccello's here.
Oh, so you know this place very, very well.
Oh yeah, yes.
When did they move here?
They moved here actually right after I got out of the Navy. They work in Hastings, and so they thought it'd be a good neutral location for them to move.
Did they know you were going to school here at that time, or did
They didn't know I was going to go to school at Davenport, but they knew I was going to go to school
in the
around
area.
here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they wanted a neutral location, so I didn't have to pay too much for rent in certain places and things like that. They're looking out for me.
Well, you got that GI Bill and you got that experience, and we're certainly glad you chose Davenport University for your academic and athletic career. Chris Ahmed, the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week, thanks so much for joining us, all right?
Thank you.
We look for big things for you this week and more down the road. Pull Sparky away from that pizza, will you? Tell him to get back over here. We got, again, Davenport takes on Northern Michigan this Saturday, and it's at 1 o'clock, and you can catch the audio feed. We already heard from one person came up to me here at the Uccello's and said, what's the deal? I went on to hear you, and I got the video and heard the Lake Erie announcers. You got to go to the schedule, and you got to hit the audio side, not watch. You got to hit the audio to get the road games, to get our audio, and you can find a way to get both. But right now, Sparky joins us now so we can start talking about the game this Saturday at Northern Michigan. The Wildcats have played 2 games already. They are 1-1. This is the conference opener for both teams. Northern Michigan defeated McKendree at home 30-9, and they lost at University of Texas Permian Basin 40-24 Saturday, and so they're 1-1. Offensively, Spark fairly well balanced, 160 yards a game running and 188 through the air. So good balance there.
Yep, well coached team. When you watch film of the game there that they just played, all they did was run out of gas. They could have won the game. They ran out of gas. It was hot.
Down in Texas,
yeah, it was hot, and they played hard. And I'm pretty sure if you speak with the Texas staff, they will tell you that they had their hands full with Northern Michigan, and that's one of the deals. This early in the year, if you go to Texas to play, you're going to deal with something that we don't deal with up here, and it's extreme heat. And they went down there and they played that evening, and when you watch the film, they were playing extremely hard the entire way, and then all of a sudden you see a drop off, and it had to do with the fact that they couldn't get acclimated to the conditions there. But we saw enough on film to know what we're going to face. We're getting ready to face, we won't face a team that will play you as tough for 4 quarters, and they're gonna smack you right in the face, and they play a tough brand of football. Okay, they play a tough brand of football, and our players know it. We talked about it. They know what to expect. So we expect a very physical match, and our guys know that if we turn the ball over, we won't have successes against this team because they'll keep it away from you, and they'll just run it. They'll run it down your throat.
You mentioned the heat. The only other time that you took a team up there in your Davenport career was we went up there, and remember back in 2 years ago, they had record-setting heat. It was in the 90s in September, which doesn't happen up there.
And it was hotter in the dome.
Yeah, and then the dome is not air-conditioned. They play in the Superior Dome up there in Marquette, so it was really hot. Now, it's not going to be that hot, but it'll be decent out. But either way, you're going to play inside. How do you prepare differently when you're going to play inside and what the conditions will be before you even get there?
There's nothing different. The one thing I tell the guys is that the noise in there is a little different as well, and then your depth perception on kicks and things like that.
Yeah, you see punt returners from the visiting team sometimes lose the ball or
in the wood.
In the wood.
1 year while I was at Ferris State, Saginaw Valley fumbled away 5 balls just because they had a tough time fielding the ball. So that's clearly an advantage for them up there. And also up there, they play really well in front of their home fans, and their home fans does a great job. Nystrom's got them rolling. They lost that game in Texas, but I'm just telling you, if they're in a different place, that they could have very easily have won that game. So they've got a lot of the same characters that were in the ball game that we played last year, and I told our guys.
And what a memorable one that was. In overtime, Davenport pulled out a 31-30 dramatic victory in that one.
Yeah.
In that game last year, you rushed for almost 5 yards a game, which was by far your best rushing game of the season. Are you looking maybe to pound it a little bit more this week, or is that simply a case of the matchups last year?
Well, last year the game, it really took a different change. Remember, that was a game that was in peaks and valleys. There was a block punt for a score. We got a stop late. We missed extra point, a block, extra point. Special teams played a big part in that thing too. So the game really was an odd game last year, and I thought that in the run game, we kind of caught them off balance a little bit. We ran the ball where maybe they thought we were going to pass it, and so we ate up some chunks of yards. But other than that, it was a well-played physical ball game, and it was one where it took a special teams punt return and then a defensive interception for it to go in our favor.
That was an 85-yard, a school record 85-yard punt return for a touchdown by Nate Couturier, again, who eventually was named first-team All-GLIAC return as a return specialist. All right, let's give a couple areas of emphasis, just based it on not on the opposition, but after last week's game, before you even were thinking about Northern Michigan, give us a couple areas to say we have got to clean these areas up.
Well, the first thing was getting a game under our belt. Getting that game under your belt, and I was impressed with how well we played in the special teams department in our first ball game. And then, I didn't know what to expect from our defense because, we're not the same up front. We're different. And then offensively, didn't really know what to expect there too, because we have some more weapons now this year, and then DeAndre's coming back. So it wasn't even about Lake Erie the first week. It's not about Northern Michigan this week. It's more about us and trying to figure out who this football team can really be. And so we're so locked in on trying to get better every day. We talk very little about the Wildcats. Even at this point, we gave credit where it was due. They know they're getting ready to go play a very physical team, and the guys even talked about it. That Northern Michigan last year, that was one of our more physical battles. So the respect is already there for that one. But we talked about, we had 13 penalties. Okay, we rushed the ball 40 times trying to find a running game, and and we didn't, our average is just a shade over 3. That's not good for what we need to do and to be successful. So we got things we got to fix up, in every phase of the game. And then ball security, Rick. I said our guy got a good shot put on him, but at the same time, you got to do whatever it takes to hold on to the rock.
All right. Again, you'll head out Thursday, as you like to do on your UP trips. But you're doing something a little different this year. You're going to leave it a little earlier to give the guys a treat. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the last couple times we've gone over the bridge, we've gone over at night. So, they see the bridge as we go over. It looks really nice. And but a lot of guys, they never get a chance to see it,
during the day.
During the day. On the trips on the way back, most of the guys are asleep, because they hard-fought battles and they go to sleep. So now we're going to go over that bridge and during the day, and it's going to be at dusk, so it should be pretty cool. We'll have an educational process going on there, and we'll explain that thing about the bridge.
Yeah, you've got so many players from out of state, Sparky, that this might be for some of them the only chance they ever get to see the Mackinac Bridge.
I got 3 new coaches that's never seen it either, and one of the coaches really, he doesn't want to get on the bus to go over the bridge. Marcus, Marcus is from Alabama.
Marcus.
Yeah, and Marcus really is concerned about the bridge. So it's exciting. We like to take the trip up there, and we really like to make it an educational process as well as get our minds right, because we know that it's tough to go up and win. in the UP.
You're going to stay in St. Ignace again?
We'll stay there. Davenport, they treat our boys really well on the road. They take good care of us, and through our fundraiser, we do some good things there, so we're able to treat our boys well on the road to make sure that's a good trip and getting their minds right so they can go out and play as tough as they need to in order to try and secure a win.
Well, nothing would be finer than for you and I to be sitting here 1 week from tonight at Uccello's of Caledonia to be talking about a 2-0 Davenport Panther squad and also 1-0 in conference play. Let's not underemphasize that. The league opener is really, really important.
It's really important. Everybody, as you see, Rick is playing well right now in the league. And
the league looks
good.
The
league looks tough as advertised. We talked about this at the end of the season last year, that everyone was returning a tremendous amount of talent. Michigan Tech at 2-0, Saginaw Valley 2-0, Grand Valley 2-0, and it just goes on, So the gauntlet starts, and our boys, I told them, I said, if you're not ready, you better get ready. We take off on Thursday, and we're excited about the game on Saturday.
And again, we'll have the audio broadcast. If you want to hear my feed, you got to go on the schedule and click the audio, not the watch. If you watch, you'll get video, but you won't get our feed of the, which gives you to you from a Davenport perspective, as you heard in some of the highlights today. If you didn't catch it last week, you'll be able to catch it throughout the game this Saturday. And then 1 week from tonight, Sparky will be high. We were right back here with another special guest to talk about last week's game and preview the home opener a week from Saturday. Again, a week from Saturday against McKendree, and we'll have free tickets for the show.
That's Lindenwood.
Lindenwood, sorry.
Yeah.
I got the school. Lindenwood, thank you. Lindenwood on a week from Saturday, and we will have free tickets for that game, whoever we're playing. And it's Lindenwood, so make sure you get out here and join us for that one. So for the head coach, Sparky McEwen, I'm Rick Berkey saying thanks for joining us once again for the Davenport Football Coaches Show, live from Uccello's in Caledonia, and go Panthers.